Welcome, everybody, to the GameThinkTalk show, your daily gaming news recap with reviews, discussion. It's brought to you, as always, by a90skid.com.au, Australia's coolest gaming site where you can buy collectibles like the Pop Vinyl line, gaming clothes, accessories, PAL versions of video games. You can read articles written by myself, Canadian Matt, and this guy up here, the silky smooth American Matt.
What's up?
We are here to talk about some games and some gaming news, of course. First off, Matt, let's get your day two. This isn't a review, of course, more like a review in progress. You've been playing Dark Souls, and you are pretty damn into this game, aren't you?
Dude, last night was the turning point, and I am hooked. This is Dark Souls 1 all over again. I got past the main kind of starting area. You like the previous Dark Souls game, you kind of you work your way to the central hub, the Firelink Shrine, and then so I started the game. There was one little boss encounter. I got to the Firelink Shrine, heard some very mysterious dialogue. Not sure what's going on yet. Checked up all the vendors, and then I went about my way to find the first area. And it's taken me quite some time to explore the initial area, but I eventually found a few farming spots for souls, found a little shortcut and a little pathway to take to the first big boss, and it was killer. As soon as you and I were playing Splatoon online for a little bit, or we played Mario Kart online for a little bit. As soon as we were done, I went back to Dark Souls 3, and I started right then and there, just going straight to that boss and trying to beat him. And it took me maybe 12 or 13 tries in a row. I would die, and then I would run straight back to the boss. I would run past every other enemy. I found this like perfect little path to take, just running past everybody. I'll probably upload a YouTube video, if not very soon, maybe a little closer to launch, as kind of like a beginner's guide. Um, but it's the boss is so fun, but he is so brutal, and it's one of those things where if you get hit, twice in a row, you're basically just struggling to sprint and roll away and just have a spare second to down some Estus and survive. But one little slip up and you're gone. But it after all those tries, I learned this, and this is what makes Dark Souls so addictive. You go up against this impossible foe, this way overpowered boss, and the first few times it just destroys you, and you think there's no possible way. I could not level up enough. My life bar could not be long enough to endure this. But eventually, you learn all of the tells. You learn those subtle little animations and twitches and stances that tell you what he's about to do, and you learn how to dodge at the perfect moment and where you can get in and attack. And in true Dark Souls fashion, you'll finally get that health bar of the boss like halfway down, and then he transforms, becomes more powerful, and has different attacks. So it was exquisitely frustrating, but really really rewarding once I finally took him down. And that's it, dude. That is the Dark Souls formula, and all the while, your surroundings are just like these picturesque high fantasy landscapes and like towering castles. And um, I have not seen a Souls game as beautiful as this one, and that's what I love most. That's what drew me into Dark Souls 1 the most, was just the incredible game world, just so inspired. And this game is certainly no less beautiful and even more beautiful. So I'm hooked. This is what I'm going to be playing in my spare time, every waking moment. So can't recommend it enough, and I can't wait to get a little further in and make some more videos and capture some more footage. It's been great.
Well, I'm pretty excited. I can't believe I have to wait until my mom's birthday, April 12th, for this game to come out. Happy birthday in advance, Mom. You mentioned about finding that little path that allowed you to run straight to the boss, and I think that's a wonderful game design that is in all the Miyazaki Souls and Bloodborne games that doesn't get talked about enough. Is that it's not just about it being difficult and it being surprising and being creepy and having this wonderful atmosphere. It's that the levels are designed perfectly in a way that you can take a shortcut and it loops you around. You rarely ever hit dead ends. As you work your way through the level, it reveals these shortcuts in like beautiful ways that mean you really don't waste a lot of time getting around, and they reward players for getting through the level and exploring. And it's a really fantastic part about that game.
Yep.
The PlayStation 3.5 system software update. We covered that yesterday. I just fired it up today, and I looked at the party settings so you can. I have all my notifications off because whenever we're streaming games, it's like the most
Sure.
annoying thing in the world to see that digitized
Yep.
thing. It's not even boobs under there. and the events looked like it was set up pretty nice. Like most PlayStation stuff, you have to kind of dig around and look for where these things might be. Luckily, they came up as a notification, so that's the easiest way to find out where these are going to be located.
Okay.
I tried to use the remote play, and at first I was getting it would not work because the internet connection was it said it wasn't fast enough. So I
Hmm.
had my PlayStation 4 is always hardwired. I hooked up the computer, so that was hardwired as well. It did load up. I saw the PlayStation screen. It was a little bit. I had it on a really tiny, like a quarter of my 13-inch MacBook Air screen, and it was okay throughout the PlayStation menu, and then a bit jittery here and there. I decided to give it a real hard test, and I loaded up Rainbow Six Siege, which is an online game. I didn't even get into the matchmaking.
Wow.
It it showed the screen. That was great. It was also on the TV at the same time. I turned off the TV, and then it kicked me out before I could really do anything. So maybe that's
Hmm.
I checked I did a speed test. You know, the UCLA OOKLA. And I tweeted that out alongside the error message that it wasn't fast enough. I think I had about around 50 down, but only about 8 up at the
Oh,
times.
that should be more than enough.
I would think so. At least the down. I'm not so sure
Oh yeah.
about the upload speed. I don't know if
I think that's probably a little over. It's definitely overkill on the download speed, and honestly, I mean, you can live stream, uh, 720, even
right.
1080. You can live stream 1080p footage with 6 or 7 up easily.
Mm-hmm.
So
So maybe they're just
um,
working the kinks out,
I bet.
and we'll see how that goes. I'll keep trying it each day, and because it'd be nice. I mean, I don't have a Vita like you,
Right.
the VIP Vita owners out there. So it'd be nice to have another screen to be able to play some PS4, especially now that I'm so addicted to playing the Wii U on the tablet. So
Right.
we'll keep checking in with that. Hey, Capcom, you're a Street Fighter V guy. You reviewed that. You can check out Matt's review on this YouTube channel. They are confirming Alex, Guile, Balrog, Ibuki, Yuri, and Urien in Street Fighter V. Guile's going to be a huge hit. Guile needs to be in every game, even if Birdie's there as well, because I know they have the same sort of moveset, but he's a real badass. He's a tough guy. Birdie wears those glasses, and he looks like kind of a dork. So good to see that these guys are going to be involved in this game. You've been playing any more Street Fighter V at all? Is that kind of fallen by the wayside?
Yeah, I checked it out because they had there was a recent update or semi-recent now this month where they added that trials and kind of demonstration mode where you can go into each character and they'll kind of showcase all of their combos and take you through. And that's really that's what I was looking for day one when this game came out. So really, really disappointed that obviously that wasn't there from the very beginning. But it's what we've been needing. It's what I've been needing. For all the veterans out there, I'm sure you've been exploring the move list and getting really creative and kind of innovating on your own. But for people like me who are used to 3D fighters, like 3D movement, Soul Calibur type fighters, it's really hard for me to get the timing down on these 2D fighters. And I've never been very good at Street Fighter. I've always loved it very much, but never been very good. So this is something that I was really, really in desperate need of, and it's still really tough for me. But it does give me a little bit of incentive to come back and try a few new characters and see who I mesh with and check out the demonstrations and just find somebody whose timing I can get in sync with. So that's nice. And then we have another big story update coming a little bit later, and of course all those cool DLC characters, some longtime staples, and some newer fan favorites. So hopefully, like I said, by the end of this year, this will be a really, really strong fighter, probably the go-to competitive fighter. Um, it's just getting there way too slowly.
It's funny that, by the way, if anyone's paying really close attention, this article that I pulled up is from December 5th, 2015. But I think Guile is a little piece, so I guess this isn't really news at all, but at least we're talking about Street Fighter V. What I was going to say is that it's funny that when the game came out and was so featureless, so lacking, it was a full priced game when it probably should have been around $40. And when I buy this game, it's probably going to be about $40, and it's actually going to have everything in the game that that will make it worthwhile.
Yep.
Let's look at Final Fantasy 15 is going to feature dialogue choices and over 200 side quests. This is actually from this year, this news. So this means that Noctis is going to have some narrative choices, some dialogue branching. how he responds to various situations. You can actually get status buffs through the use of these different options, and the outcome of these quests may change depending on what the protagonist wants to do. That's great, kind
Hmm.
of like playing a role in an RPG. Yeah, and 200 side quests, so it's going to be a nice big fat game. Things like fishing, chocobo racing, minigame quests, monster hunting quests, regional quests. Um, Matt, how do you like the ratio of, say, side quests to mainline? Because I know that when I was growing up, I loved side quests and side
Oh
games.
yeah.
It felt like you're getting more out of it. You're learning so much more. As I get older, I think the side quests, if they're great, sure, I'll love to play them, but they are less important to me now. But I think with a game like this, it could be great for the world building. So how do you feel about that?
I love them, dude. I like we mentioned in another show, as we get older, I think we are starting to cherish brevity and kind of the shorter games more and more, just because it feels like time moves faster and faster and we don't have as much free time as we used to. So on one hand, I love a huge game. I love my favorite games, are games like Persona 4 Golden, where my play clock is like 115 hours right now, and there's still so much I haven't seen and done, and so much of that is due to side quests and all these extra things you can do in the game. Side quests are what make the newer Zelda games so fantastic, and in Ocarina of Time, it was getting the extra tunics and that huge Goron
Oh
sword
yeah,
or whatever that was, or the big whatever that bigger, I forget what it was called,
yeah,
but
Big Goron Sword and the Master Sword.
right, finding all the golden sculptulas, all those things. Like that's what really side quests drive you into the world more deeply than you would have gone otherwise, just going straight along the main storyline. It makes you talk to NPCs. It lets you get invested in the environments and the towns and the lore. And side quest just brings such a rich, uh, you know, a rich layer to the
Mm-hmm.
main story, and they're so important. But it's nice. It's nice if they're there when you want them to be. That's why I love games that have a new game plus. I like it when you can stick to the main storyline, but afterward or just whenever you want, you can go back and kind of do any of the side quests in your own time. So hopefully they do that with Final Fantasy 15, and it's not when you're at one point in the story, you have these side quests. Obviously, with the dialogue options, many of those will be probably kind of coming and going as you go along the main story. But hopefully, we don't miss out on side quests going along the main story where you feel like you have to take 70 hours to play this 30 or 40-hour campaign if you want to do all the cool side quests.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really happy about the news. I just hope that they're there in a way um, that we're able to tackle them kind of at our own pace and in our own time.
Yeah, much like, say, how Final Fantasy VII handled it. In many, many role playing games, right before that big final confrontation, they usually let you know, like, all
Yeah,
right, this is kind of the point of return. And then you go around the world, and that's when you do the chocobo breeding or,
right.
finish off all those side quests. So definitely they have to design that in a way that, yeah, that you don't want to feel like you're sacrificing anything, that you can just take your time and play what you feel at the moment and be able to, access the whole game. There's a little bit of information in here I was looking at. This is an article from pushsquare.com. They're saying, and I quote, but there's one nugget of information we're not entirely keen on just yet. Much like in Final Fantasy VIII, magic spells are handled like a resource. You won't be tediously drawing them from enemies for hours on end, but you will need to collect and stock up on them in order to use magic. So
Hmm.
that's, I mean, there's magic is always finite. There's always magic points that will uh, recharge when you sleep or when you rest or when you take magic potions. So hope I mean it looks like if they're this way, my guess is that they won't be able to be brought up from using some sort of item. But if you're going to have another item, that could just be more magic spells anyway. So I'm not a big fan of things being too finite, and if you are able to rest your characters, having them all recharge. So we'll see how they
You
handle
know,
that.
I was really not a fan of the draw system when I went through Final Fantasy VIII at
Right.
first because I was so used to traditional RPGs where you just have a mana bar, you have your set spells that you learn, or you have your materia in place, and you kind of you learn your favorite spells, your go tos, and as long as you can replenish your mana, you kind of have that available to you. But what I'm realizing now, looking back, when I was playing Final Fantasy VIII, is the draw system and having to having to find and kind of replenish um, this set number of spells, it forced you to branch out and use other types of magic and other spells that you probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Hmm.
And I noticed even in the platinum demo that the spell effects are really dazzling, and I bet they put a lot of time and effort into making all the spells really good looking and really useful in their own certain way. And I bet this is a way just to force players to get out of their comfort zone, and instead of just sticking with, you know, Blizzaga and heal all the time, you're gonna experiment with all these different spells as you run out of a few and find others, and maybe you have one really powerful one that you want to hold on to for a boss, so you're using different spells for random encounters. I kind of like that now. It's going to force me to break things up a little bit and try some new spells.
That reminds me of reading an interview with Tabata about the Final Fantasy team, and he said that over the years, when he started taking over and got more involved, that the Final Fantasy team kind of had this attitude. He said that they felt like we work on Final Fantasy games. We're really special. And he said the attitude meant that they sort of thought that whatever we make is going to be great because this is Final Fantasy. And
Right.
as we've seen over the years, it's just fallen more and more out of the spotlight in terms of must-play JRPGs, and it has been a big meh with Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. And he said he really worked hard at changing that mentality and getting people back into the way of like we need to work for this and we need to like keep pushing and you can't rest on the laurels. But it just reminded me of that when I imagine some developer being like, "Oh yeah, you think you're not going to see my wind spell? Oh, you better believe
Right.
you're going to be using that."
Right.
Well, let's go on to some more Japanese gaming news. A bunch of Nintendo NX rumors. You know, my favorite rumor that has come out of this, we'll see what happens with like 4K streaming and all this crap, was that the NX
Right.
is going to be built on x86 architecture. And that's what the
Yep.
PS4 uses, that's what the Xbox One uses, that's what the Xbox 360 used, and why it was so easy to port games over to it, and why it had a huge advantage over the PS3's PowerPC architecture and that
Cell processor and all that.
that's right, all that stuff. So Sony learned with the PS4 to join up, and the Wii stuck with the PowerPC, and the Wii U is PowerPC as well. Now that makes it very easy to do all this backwards compatibility for Nintendo. I mean, the Wii was just like two GameCubes stuck together, and the Wii U is like two Wii's put together, so it's dead easy to do backwards compatibility. This could make it a lot more tough for you to play your favorite Wii U games on the NX, although Nintendo seems to put that as a high priority. However, the compatibility I'm most concerned about is current day compatibility. If Nintendo can easily have things ported over, and I think this is a very good step, making a powerful system so that other publishers and developers can say, all right, it's the same architecture. That means it's far, far cheaper and easier for them to port a game over, and
Yep.
that's going to be a big difference. So hopefully that is the first big step towards playing these third-party games on Nintendo. That's what Nintendo needs. They have,
Totally agree.
yeah, and they have far, far more exclusives than both PlayStation and Xbox combined in terms of great games to play. Like I'm talking must-play games. But without the third-party support, you're nothing. Look at the PS4. They've had so much success, and if you really looked at AAA exclusive games on there, what is there besides like Bloodborne?
Yeah.
Uncharted isn't out. There's no Last of Us 2. There's almost nothing on there. And there's lots of
Yeah.
like PS4 has done incredibly well with indie games. They had Rocket League first, but you need to have this third party support. So as far as some other of the rumors that they were saying, interacting with smart device apps, the NX software, unlocking my Nintendo reward points. It's not really a big one, but that's something that
Right.
if you played Mitomo and you're halfway to getting 40% off the next Wii U game you want to buy, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Allowing save data to the Nintendo Cloud. When they say support for an additional screen, I wonder. I'm really hoping they use something similar to what the Wii U has at the tablet screen. I know people have been critical of that, but I
Yeah.
love that. So what are you
Yeah. I'm
making of?
counting on it.
I love it. Yeah. What are you making of these rumors, Matt?
Most of it is stuff that we don't know anything. I can't say it's stuff we already knew. Most of it is stuff we've already been kind of speculating and talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that guy caught that
The Reddit
the
user,
leaker.
right?
Yeah, he was catching a lot of flack for saying that it was going to use friend codes, and later on he had to come in and edit it and say, maybe not friend codes. You'll just have to know the people you're adding as a friend, which is kind of how it is now. Like
Yeah.
you and I know, or maybe you don't know because you haven't played too much Splatoon. But when I play Splatoon with a group of people, We go through a couple games. I can't, like on PS4 or Xbox One for most games, I can't just pull up a list of, recently met players I played Splatoon with and just kind of pick one and add one, send them a message, add them as a friend. You pretty much have to talk to somebody directly to get their Nintendo ID and to add them as a friend and even to hook up with them in games. Nintendo is just so controlling and rigid when it comes to interacting online with strangers, and that's part of their brand because they cater more to a younger audience usually. But it kind of sucks for older gamers like you and I who don't have mom and dad looking over our shoulder, and we want accessibility and we want convenience when we want to hook up with people online and build these communities. So I'm really really hoping that he mentioned from the look of this leak, it seems like maybe Nintendo is keeping that same kind of rigidity in place, and that it's going to be kind of difficult to hook up with random people online. I'm hoping that their online is more robust, and that come launch time, we're going to see a revamped Miiverse and a revamped um, you know online system, especially with the competitive multiplayer games like Splatoon and Mario Kart going into the future. But otherwise, this leak stuff was pretty normal. It's just saying same old extra screen, this much RAM,
Hmm.
friend codes, yada yada.
Yeah, they're saying 6 to 8 gigabytes of DDR4. That actually got them a lot of flack in Reddit with people saying,
Yeah,
"Why would anyone use DDR4?"
yeah, they're getting fired up.
Yeah, I mean, because the PS4 has DDR5 and that debuted a few years ago now. Someone else is even getting angry that how dare they even mention that it might be 6 gigabytes because everyone knows that RAM would never have a 4 and a 2. That's just not efficient. What they could have been saying is that, like, for example, with the PlayStation and the Xbox, sure, they have 8 gigabytes of RAM, but developers only have access to 5 gigabytes on Xbox and I think 4.5 on the PS4. The operating system takes up a big chunk of that, although there is sometimes an extra 1 gigabyte of flexible memory on the PS4. So perhaps they mean something like that. It's as long as it's as powerful and it can play. It looks like Nintendo's been going for this. Like, don't forget
Yeah,
about, I don't know, 6 months ago, Nintendo created that developers portal, and they were really into getting people and like, let's make some great experiences. And they were targeting third-party developers. They were trying to send out dev kits and get people really on board. And it wasn't the old closed-off Nintendo we saw before. This was them embracing the internet and trying to get a hold of people. And they know that that's where the bread and butter is. Like, it's if you had the third party support as well, there'd be absolutely no problem, and you can put your gimmicks on top of it as well. Just play along. A lot of people are saying there's no way they could go toe to toe with Xbox and PlayStation playing that same game, but I totally disagree. What did you have on your mind?
and I was going to say I have. So far, we have every indication that the NX is going to be as powerful, if not more powerful, than the PS4, and that's one of these supposed rumors. One of these supposed leaks is that the NX will be outputting 4K. Now, whether that's in some kind of uh, just streaming something, or if it has anything to do with gameplay in the games, I still kind of hold to my theory that the PS4K and Xbox maybe coming out with some new iteration, some kind of upgraded console, and Sony doing their mobile games. I still have a feeling that a lot of this is a reaction to keep up with what they know as industry insiders Nintendo's going to be doing come holiday season. I have a feeling that come holiday season, the NX is going to be, even just if very slightly, the most powerful console available. And so Sony is saying, no way, we can't be behind Nintendo.
Hmm.
We're going to have the PS4K. So NX is going to be outputting in 4K. We're going to be outputting in 4K. NX has a slightly more powerful processor. Think again, not with this new PlayStation. I kind of have a feeling that's what's going on, but pure speculation on my part.
And that would make a lot more sense if we did see a Nintendo platform come out. I think if Sony didn't already have something in the pipeline, people would be thinking like, how could you let Nintendo hop ahead of you? So that I like your theory. This could make a lot more sense down the line once we see it. Right now, Sony's just kind of testing the waters. Microsoft is totally just watching Sony because
Yeah.
they were talking about this upgraded Xbox and they back off. Like they're playing
Yep.
both sides and they're pretty clever.
Yep.
They've been around a long time and this, I mean, if you look at some of the most successful Nintendo systems, like the Super Nintendo, I'm not counting the Wii. The Wii was successful in such a different way. With
Oh yeah.
it was people buying $150 systems so they could play Wii Sports with their friends, and then they never thought about it again after that. I mean, look at the Super Nintendo was a super powerful system. The Nintendo was not as powerful as, say, the Sega Master System in a way, but um, powerful than what came before it, that's for sure, and revolutionize it. So it would be nice to see just like keep up. That's all. Just keep up and
Yeah.
maybe be a little bit more powerful would make more sense because it has come out a couple years after the Wii U. I think was maybe around that as powerful as say a PS3 or a little more, but it came out right before the PS4, so it was just very funny timing for the Wii U. So this could
Yeah.
work if you have publishers and developers that have been making games and ports ready. Then this could do really well. If not, then they're still gonna be pretty far behind because it takes a while to make games.
Yep.
Hey, here's a game, Quantum Break. If they find out on the PC version that your copy is pirated, they're gonna put a an eye patch on your character. They
Yep.
still let you play the game, but you get this. Now you mentioned that you thought it was pretty funny that people are getting this. Like if you're someone who collects loot and you like to trick out your character, you're pointing out that great. Now like I'd have to play a pirated copy, and then I get this really cool eye patch.
Right. Yeah. The likelihood of you playing a pirated copy is not very high because the type of encryption they're using, this de novo. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's this newer and very expensive form of security that um, a Chinese hacker group that I can't remember the name of right now. They made headlines a while back because they were kind of going on hiatus and taking a sabbatical. They were going to take a
Right.
break.
They were saying
They were
that game
saying
pirating was over.
right. They're saying this new encryption method is almost impossible to crack, and so that's what Quantum Break is using. And I don't think there are any legitimate cracked copies out right now. Which is the game is still new, but usually it's like day before a game comes out, certainly on launch day, and then like
Yeah.
definitely the day after, a few days after, you can find a cracked copy somewhere if you know where to look. And that's not the case right now. So I don't think anybody's really going to be sporting the eye patch. They mentioned a Reddit user mentioned that if you logged out of the Windows Store and then booted the game up, that it would kind of trigger the DRM and that you might have the eye patch on there. But yeah, I thought it was kind of weird that this is almost like an exclusive, like aesthetic accessory that's like the likes of which you usually see for like getting a day one edition or like pre-ordering the game. It's like, oh, you have to steal it if you want this eye patch. They did it in Alan Wake too.
Hmm.
Same thing. If the game could tell you're playing a pirated copy, you sported this big Jolly Roger on your eye for the whole game. So kind of weird.
Yeah, you think they should put something on there like a dunce cap or something really ugly, or just
Right.
change you into like Barney the dinosaur, or just not, or just like I don't know, into a little 4-year-old girl. Be
Right.
like, there you go, there's your pirate thing. Or I change you into that. You ever seen that South Park where the kids are trying to play this online gaming? It's this like really fat guy who's covered in grease,
Yep.
and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
change you into that guy. There you go, you're a pirate. Rocket League Physical Edition gets a release date. It's about time. This is coming out July 5th, it looks like, in
In
North
North America.
America,
Yeah.
and June 24th.
I'll probably
Maybe,
get that.
yeah, because you don't have that one yet, right? And I would love it
I
if you
don't have
had
it.
it.
I don't have it. I keep waiting for it to go on sale. I'm sure, even though it's a physical edition, I'm sure it'll be reasonably priced, maybe 19.99. And on Amazon Prime for new physical releases, you get 20% off and release day delivery. So that might be a perfect excuse for me to dive into Rocket League, get all the DLC that came out with it, 4 new vehicles. Sounds like a pretty good deal.
20% off. That is sizable.
It is. It's great. I mean, yeah, seriously, if you're a gamer, your Amazon Prime membership will pay for itself within probably 6 months.
Wow, that's incredible. There's also going to be a collector's edition as well that includes all the expansions released to date, alongside 4 new vehicles that make their debut in the
Ah,
physical version.
okay. So is that a separate edition of the physical version, or the
The,
physical version that they're releasing is kind of a collector's edition?
oh, you know what? I think the collector's edition. There's only going to be a collector's edition.
Okay, okay.
That's right. Okay.
So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that even though it has that extra content, it's still going to be about 19.99, just given the age of the game. But maybe they justify a 29.99 price tag with the extra stuff and the DLC content.
Yeah, I could see $30, $40 at the max for
Oh, I
everything
hope
else
not.
that's in there. But would you, if it was 39, would you still go for it with your Amazon
No,
Prime?
no. I would 29 is my ceiling
There we go.
for that game.
You heard it here first. All right, let's talk about some esports. Face It and Twitch launch an esports league where the teams are the owners. And Matt, you were covering this story.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting just because esports is it's this huge thing. I mean, it's like I don't think you or I like we don't sit around on Twitch and watch esports, and we don't like wait for tournaments to roll around to see what people do in, you know, Dota 2 or whatever. But if it's a game that you're really interested in and that you play competitively, like if there was a big Rainbow Six Siege tournament going on and we knew it was the best people in the world that were playing against each other, I would want to watch that, wouldn't
I'd
you?
watch that for sure.
So it just, it has to be something you're into, and esports as a whole is getting huge. Companies like Activision are spending billions of dollars, and they are and the former CEO of ESPN and the guy who started NFL Network, Steve Bornstein, I think is his name. He's all in. I think he partnered with Activision, and they are just investing hardcore in these networks and these stadiums and advertising and creating these leagues and recruiting and sponsorships. And they know that in a few years this is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, spectator sport in the world. And so it's just interesting as esports grow and evolve. One of the ways it's going to change in the future is how policies are made and how they interact with the teams and with the players, because ultimately that's who we're going to watch. We're not going to Twitch because we are really excited about a certain sponsor. So we're going to see this Counter Strike team, this Dota player, this Rainbow Six Siege team play and do their thing, better than anybody else in the world. And so Face It, this kind of young esports startup, I think they kicked things off in 2011. They teamed up with Twitch to create this new esports league. Their first tournament is going to be this big Counter Strike Go tournament, and their big thing is that the players and the teams are kind of co-owners in the league, so they're sharing in the revenue and in the profits, and they're getting this representation. Um, Kind of like I guess they're. I'm not really sure what exactly it's going to mean, but I just assume that they are going to be brought to light about any kind of policy changes. They're going to have some kind of say or some kind of vote in that, and it just seems really progressive. It's Face and Twitch, and the guy who started this initiative is basically saying these teams and these players are what make esports so special. They are they're driving this phenomenon, and they deserve to kind of have this part ownership and have a say in how things are done. And when the league does really well and brings in a ton of money, they deserve a cut of that. So it's really interesting to me, and I'll be very interested to see if these more established and these bigger leagues kind of follow suit in the future as esports continue to grow. And if they don't right off the bat, I'd be interested to see if the bigger teams and the bigger players demand that they do. So it'll be interesting in the next this is going to happen fast. I mean, in the next 2 years, we'll have a good idea of where esports is going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need to reward the best players in the world because without them, there is nothing to really watch.
Right?
Otherwise, you could just go onto Twitch for free and watch any joker play the game. But that is the only thing that would get me into watching that is, like you said, a game that I'm connected to that I play, Rainbow Six, that I'd want to see, like, what are the best people doing? Or like Mario Kart or any game that I have a fundamental understanding of. For me, I don't watch any like live Dota playing or League of Legends, any of that, because I don't understand the game really. So it doesn't make any
Right.
sense to me when I see people yelling about it. Um, yeah, you need to reward the players in a way. All the big leagues are handing out big prize money, but when you look at a league like the NFL, the NBA, whatever, just because you don't win the championship doesn't mean you don't get paid at the end of the day. Like these people give up their lives to be this good at this game, and if they don't win, then they still deserve to be paid and to take a share of the profit that is being generated by them playing in it. So it's great to
Sure.
see. It's a positive step forward, and this is still sort of a youngish industry, esports. So it's going to be changing as it goes along, and we'll see. We'll see what has a longer fad. Will it be this, or will it be watching poker on TV, which is still around? People still
Yeah.
watch.
Yes, it is.
So not to say that just because something isn't super popular with the mainstream doesn't mean that it's died out. I think it'll always still be there. So we'll see. We'll see how mainstream it can get. I think ESPN was they've been covering wrestling now too, so they're starting to branch out. So it's I think they were
Yeah.
covering WrestleMania and they were doing that. So they're looking
And
to.
ESPN2 actually covered the Heroes of the Dorm tournament, the Heroes of the Storm college tournament. The finals of that were broadcast on ESPN2. So,
Fantastic. There we go. It's growing. It's a good thing. It's good for all gamers. Now, Gears of War 4 release date and cover art announced. This is from IGN. It's going to launch globally October 11th as an Xbox One exclusive. And there's actually going to be a beta for this game as well. Isn't that right? I think at first you have had to have bought the Gears of War, was it the collection for the Xbox One or Windows 10?
yeah, it's Gears of War Ultimate Edition,
Mm,
and I think I think you're still eligible. Like if you don't have that game yet, you can still buy it right now and play it on Xbox Live, either on your Windows 10 PC or on your Xbox One. And if you do that, then you have early access to the beta
which is only on
starting
Xbox One.
right for now. Although it wouldn't surprise me if we hear about Gears of War 4 coming to Windows 10 a little bit later on. But I think April 18th was the date that it started. If you purchased Ultimate Edition, otherwise maybe the 24th or 25th.
Yeah, you're right on. It's April 18th if you've pre-bought the Ultimate Edition, and then 25th is going to be for, it says, all Xbox Live Gold members.
Yeah.
The beta will
So
run until May 1st. May 1st.
yeah, kind of turning into more of an open beta. Uh, so yeah, that'll be nice. That'll make it a little bit easier to wait. Again, it'll be a while before we're playing that. We'll be playing Final Fantasy 15 before Gears of War 4 comes out. So the beta will be uh, that'll be nice for people who just can't wait to get their hands on this game.
How will
Uh,
people decide which one to play when they're both out? I mean, there's such an overlap between the
right,
crowds.
right. I should say too that Doom is getting an open multiplayer beta for anybody who saw me playing the closed beta on the YouTube channel, and you want to get your hands on it and see what you think. I had quite a few criticisms, even though I did end up having fun with it. You can try it for yourself pretty soon. I don't have the dates in front of me. It might be this weekend. It might be next week, and I'll have to look that up. But Doom Open multiplayer beta is coming as well.
Well, there you have it. That is the news for the day. We'll be back here tomorrow with some more gaming news recap. And tomorrow's Thursday, so that means it is the Majora's Mask Game Club. We'll have had beaten the temple that is after the Snow Temple. Matt, honestly, how far are you towards that
Uh,
goal?
yeah, so I beat the Snow Temple, and I came back down from the mountain into the Goron Village, and I have not loaded up the game since then. So as soon as
That's
I
me
finish
too.
my work for the day, I'm going to be diving straight into that, and hopefully it won't become too much of a grind. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll be grinding that out too. We'll be speed running this. All right,
Yeah.
folks, we'll see you tomorrow. Have fun out there.